Everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am back to sit down and have a nice little chat with you all about the book club with Jess pick for June. So for that month we decided to pick and read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's been a book that I've wanted to read for a really long time. I think it came out 2017, 2018, so it's been out for a couple of years now, and you see it everywhere and it's always really hyped, and obviously I was curious by that, but I went into it quite daunted because it was so hyped, and I went in knowing nothing about it, which if you're watching this and you know nothing and you haven't read it, that's the best way. Don't even read the blurb. I didn't read the blurb, and oh my god, it really does live up to the hype. It was one of the best books I've ever read. I finished it last night at midnight and I was like, I don't quite know how to process this. Like this, the writing was just absolutely incredible. I don't even know what genre to put this book in, because it's not a romance book, but there's romance aspects in it. Like it is historical, but then again it's not historical, and I can't place it. And the one thing that I want to relay is that if you've read it, I'm sure you will imagine, it feels real. It feels like you're reading an autobiography. It feels like this happened. Afterwards I wanted to like Google and Wikipedia Evelyn Hugo and find out more information about her, and obviously it's fictional, which I'm 12 hours from reading it, and I'm still thinking like, wow, like it was such an incredible read. It was so thought-provoking and it was emotive, and it was heartbreaking and heartwarming, and it was just such, like I said, a thought-provoking book, and it's definitely one of my favourite books of all time. It was incredible. I've read a couple of Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I stayed away from the popular ones, so her new one, I think it came out in June or May, and that's called Malibu Rising, and I'm definitely going to read that. Taylor Jenkins Reid for me was an author that I heard about, I knew about, but wasn't necessarily that like invested in, I guess. Like for me, for example, a Page Toon book, I know the release is every single June and I look forward to that release date and I can't wait to read it. Taylor Jenkins Reid isn't that for me, but it will be that for now, like from now on, because it was, I literally can't even vocalise how amazing and how special Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was. Like it was just amazing, and the thing that made it amazing was Evelyn Hugo. I've never read a character like it before, and everything that she goes through in her life, for her life, it's crazy. Like it was so good. It was so good. So a small summary if you don't know what the book is about, like I didn't. So a small spoiler-free summary is we basically follow a journalist called Monique, and she's living in New York and she works for a magazine, and Evelyn Hugo says that she'll do an interview, and she doesn't do interviews. She's in her 80s, and she was one of the most famous like movie stars of her era, from like the 50s to current day sort of thing. And she said that she was willing to do an interview, but it has to be with Monique, and she is like up and coming in her business, in the company that she works for, and the team don't think that she can do it, and she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go and do it. So she does it, and we basically see Evelyn open up about her entire life, and she basically says that she wants Monique to write a book about Evelyn Hugo when she passes away and do like a biography about her life. So she is going to open up about absolutely everything. And then the book follows on from there. So we then see it be narrated by Evelyn Hugo about her life from childhood, and then being like a young teenager, getting married and being within Hollywood and in that scene. And then we see her go throughout her life, and it also breaks down all of the 7 husbands that she has throughout her life, why she got married 7 times and things like that up to present day. And then we do also then see cutscenes in between that big time frame of Monique and her personal issues. We don't see too much, which I'm really glad about. I'm glad that the book's solely focused on Evelyn Hugo. And like I said, then we just see it go from there. And it was one of the most beautiful stories I've ever read. And like I said, it feels real. I love how we see the influence that Evelyn Hugo has on Monique and how she makes certain life decisions and how it empowers her. And I love the depth that we have of Evelyn Hugo, and we see what she does not only for herself but for others, and it was just incredible. So I'm now going to stop talking about the non-spoiler section. I didn't cry. I think if I read it in a couple of sittings I would have done, but because I read it in, I think it was just short of a week, and I had quite a lot of time between, not a lot of time, but I would obviously sleep on it, have a whole day, and then pick up again. So I think that affected my emotions, whereas if I was, say, on a beach and I just read it all, you're more invested because you're still like in it, if that makes sense. I read a really crucial point as well last night when I was blow drying my hair, and then I had to turn the hairdryer off, and I was like, what the fuck has happened here? And then I was like, that's really sad. Like, that's really sad. 5 out of 5 stars. One of my favourite books. It's going to be one that I recommend to everyone, and it's definitely going to be one that I'm going to buy in paperback format and have it on my bookshelf, and I will definitely be buying it for readers in my family to gift as like birthday and Christmas presents, because it was just fucking phenomenal, if I'm being perfectly honest. So, spoiler sections. I still haven't mentally processed what's happened, and you can tell with a good book, like for me, once I finish a book I'm like, okay, like what am I going to move on to next? Whereas this one I feel like I need to take like a couple of days away from reading to actually sit and process this book. And like I said, it's so thought-provoking, but not for me and my life or anything like that, but just the story that Evelyn Hugo told was just heartbreaking, and I loved it so much. Thinking about it makes me want to cry, but I didn't cry whilst reading it. But just the impact that it had is crazy. Like, it's so weird. I don't really know where to start, and I'm not going to talk too much about the book itself. I absolutely loved it though. I really enjoyed seeing her and her marriages and the explanation as to why she married certain people to get to where she wanted to be. I like my heart broke for her when she married Don and she went through like domestic abuse, and then we found out he married Ruby, her, was it a co-star or a friend in like in a circle, and she got abused as well, that we found out later on down the line, and I really felt for her then. I absolutely loved Harry. I loved how they both had their really deep dark secrets, and I've never really read a book that has that representation before, and I've also never read a book set in that time with that representation. And I think it pinpointed the fact that being of a certain gender and wanting to be with the gender that you are, whether you are male or female, and wanting to be in a same-sex couple back in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and all of that, it really highlighted how forbidden and how frowned upon it was. And it was just really eye-opening, and to know what it's like now, don't get me wrong, I can't relate to that at all, but to see how, and again I might be completely naive, but from what I see, like how accepting it is. Like we've just had Pride Month, and I feel like what an amazing book we had for Pride Month, and I went into it not knowing that it would be that, have that representation at all. I had no clue. It was just really heartbreaking to read that they never got their happy ever after. They had happy moments, but it was just really, really sad. Like I said, I loved Harry, and I loved the friendship that they had, and the fact that they could confide in each other about, obviously, Harry being gay and Evelyn being bisexual, and her love for Celia. And oh my god, it was just amazing. The chapters that stand out to me the most were when they were all together, the four of them, when Celia married John, because Harry was in love with John, and then Evelyn married Harry, and then they all sort of lived together as a four. And those were the chapters that I loved the most, because that was when she was at her happiest. And then she obviously had the conversation with Celia, that the fact that she obviously wanted children, and she ended up having children with Harry, and they did it, like Harry and Evelyn did it because they love each other, but not in that sort of way. It was like a purely like platonic love. And again, it's so complex, and I've never read anything like it before. And the fact they had their baby girl called Connor, and how loved that little girl was by everyone. Oh god, I just can't. It was so special. And then John passed away, and then everything broke up. I feel like I'm glazing over so many points. I absolutely loved Evelyn as a narrator as well, and how she kept pointing, like throughout the book she'd be like, I'm a really bad person, like you're gonna hate me, and things like that. And whilst I was reading it, I was like, what on earth has she done? Like, where is it gonna go? And then we found out that the point where I was blow drying my hair last night was when Harry was in a car crash, and he was slumped over the wheel, and the guy in the passenger seat had died instantly. It was sort of glazed over as to who that was, because originally Harry wanted Evelyn to marry this guy, and then they were moved to Spain to be with Celia, and like live a quieter life sort of thing. And that was sort of glazed over, like the events were horrific, but there was no focus on the second man. And then she obviously framed it, so she took Harry out and then framed it for this guy to have been the driver. And then it turns out this guy in the, was it 80s? The guy that was in the passenger seat that died instantly, that they then framed, turned out to be Monique's dad. And I didn't see that coming at all. And I was like, as I was reading it, I was like, oh my god, it's her dad, oh my god, it's her dad. And then literally at the end of the chapter, it was like, I think his name is James. And I was like, oh my god, like, oh my god, it all just fit together. And I couldn't believe it, which again, it made sense as to why Evelyn Hugo wanted Monique to do the story, and wanted to somehow explain to her what happened to her dad. And the fact that there was a letter that James wrote to Harry to be like, I love you so much, but I can't leave my daughter Monique and my wife, like we don't have the relationship that you and Evelyn do, because he obviously knew about the situation. However, I cannot do that to my daughter, like I love her unconditionally, and I wish you all the best, and I love you for you, but I can't leave my family. And she then obviously gave that to Monique, and I was like, oh. It was just a lot of emotion, and it was just incredible. When we found out and we learnt that Connor died at 39 from breast cancer, it was just the book and everything that Evelyn went through throughout her life, whether I agreed with her decisions or not. You see why she did it, and she put up this massive front so that people thought that she was like a whore and she was sleeping around, and oh my god, she's had 5, 6, 7 husbands, blah blah blah. But it was all for other reasons, and it was to protect herself or to like get her name out there and things like that. And then I've completely just lost my train of thought. Discover the fact that she lost Connor. That broke me. Like, that was really hard to read. Like, it was just so sad, the fact that she'd lost Harry, and she'd lost Celia to COPD. No, it wasn't COPD. She had COPD, but she also has emphysema. My granny died of emphysema, and my mum has got COPD, so it was very scary to read that, because I've never read that before. And then to obviously find out that she lost her daughter as well, and then she was just on her own, and I was just like, the things you've gone through in your life, and yes, she had happy pockets, but a lot of it was constantly thinking about how to protect herself and how to protect the ones that she loved, and it just felt like, I don't know, I can't even vocalise it, because it was just so wonderful but so sad at the same time. And then we obviously found out that Evelyn carried the gene of, or was a carrier of breast cancer, and she just got diagnosed with breast cancer. And again, it then looped round to the fact that she found Monique not only because of who she was, but an article that she wrote about the, was it Peace to Die or something? So it's like suicide, like understanding the reasons as to why people do commit suicide, if they have like long-term health issues and things like that. Sort of like on the Me Before You film, when he goes, I think he goes to Switzerland. Is it called assisted suicide? I'm not too sure. And when I didn't really clock on, part of me thought she was just going to pull out a gun and shoot herself in the head. And then I thought maybe she's going to jump off her like high-rise flat or her apartment. And then when she said bye to Grace, her assistant, and she was like, oh, like, Evelyn gave me these tickets to go, I can't remember what, I think it was Costa Rica, for a couple of days, and I'm going tonight. And then she'd obviously finished the photo shoot, and she'd finished all the work with Monique. And then it was the way she said goodbye, like Evelyn said, like, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. I was like, I clocked on the same time as Monique clocked on. I was like, oh my god, she's going to kill herself. She's going to kill herself. And then the way she then finished her conversation with Monique, and then the internal battle that Monique had when she left the apartment, being like, Evelyn's gonna kill herself. Should I stop it? Like, I know she's going to do it, but the reason why she picked me is because of my article about how I sympathise and I understand why people do it. And that internal battle, I was like, go get her. But then I was like, no, don't, because she trusts you and she's ready to do it, and she doesn't want cancer to take her identity and things like that. And the internal battle that I had at the same time as that Monique had, oh my god, it was just incredible. And then we found out that she did actually die of, they did it as like accidental overdose. And it was just a ride. It was incredible, and I would recommend that book to anyone. I really hope that I haven't missed out too many crucial points. I know I have, because so much happened in like a 430-page book, and I don't know how she did it. And I feel like I'm mourning Evelyn Hugo, which is so bizarre, but it was just a fantastic read, and I loved it so much, and it's going to be one that I will always remember. I want to read Daisy Jones and the Six now. I really hope Evelyn Hugo gets picked up for a film, because it would make an incredible like Netflix adaptation. So many thoughts, so many feels. What a book. I loved it. I loved the relationship she had with Celia as well, and how special it was. And oh my god, it was just amazing. It was so good. So that brings me to the end of my book discussion for the book, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Highly recommend it. What a beautiful, beautiful book. And what a beautiful character. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to follow me over on my book club with Jess over on Instagram. This month we are reading Page Tune, Someone I Used to Know. So we're doing that for the month of July. So I hope you get involved with that one. I will put my video up in the next couple of weeks. I'm now going to go and sign off. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Leave me all your comments and feels down below, because I'd love to talk to you about this one in the comments below, or if you don't want to, send me a DM over on my book club Instagram and we can chat about it there. Right, I'm going to go. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.